Alright guys, before we start the video, I just want to take a minute to apologize to anyone that I may have offended in my last video. In my last video, I stated a few times that the birds that I received recently, particularly the two birds that have raced in the Classic, have raced at the highest level of competition here in Michigan. And although that is true, the Classic, the Great Lakes, and the Motor City are some of the highest levels of competition you're going to find here in Michigan. Michigan is very large. There are numerous members in mid-Michigan, northern Michigan that fly very well. And I'm sure without a doubt their level of competition is just as aggressive as ours, maybe even better. I don't know. I guess what I meant to say was the highest level of competition that I can compete in, that I can participate in. So if I offended anybody, I apologize. Nobody has come forth and said anything via comments or private message that I've offended them. But before that happens, I just wanted to apologize ahead of time. I know guys like Rob from Dunningville Lofts, who is in mid-Michigan. I'm sure he's got great birds, great methods, and his level of competition is also great. I don't want to offend guys like that. And if you guys want to visit his page, it's Dunningville Lofts on YouTube. He's a beginner to YouTube. He's got a few good videos out there. Let's support each other. Let's support him. Let's keep it going. I know for a fact your comments, your support go a long way, even for myself. I mean, it's what keeps me going. It's what keeps me making video. What keeps me bringing content to the table. So let's support each other. It's a dying sport. Every little bit goes a long way, guys. But either way, let's move on. What I want to talk about today in particular is good record keeping, good note taking, and things of that nature. Why is it important? I've seen numerous videos via YouTube and DVDs, things of that sort. I really don't see people talk much about good record keeping. I know they bring up pedigrees and things like that, but nobody really says, hey, keep track of this. Or I guess it's something that's considered common sense. You should obviously know to keep good records of your birds and your breedings, but some people, young guys that are starting in the sport, they don't think about that. They're eager to get birds, they're eager to raise birds, and it's something that's overlooked. And I think it's crucial. I think it's crucial in developing a family of birds that you can be proud of, that you can compete with, and it's just valid information to know. Myself, if I breed a pair of birds, I want to know that the youngsters did good, and not just one. I want to see the majority do good. I know you're going to lose some in training and in settling and in to hawks or wires or tree branches or whatever the case is. It happens. Acts of God will happen, and that's fine. But if I breed 8 youngsters out of a pair and only one make it through the season, well, that itself tells me that I no longer want to keep that pair together, or whether I want to keep that pair at all, those two birds. In front of you here is a pretty crude method. I recycled it from my uncle. It's what he uses to keep track of his breedings. I just kind of went one step further and added a few things that I think will have helped me in the long run. As you can see up here, I added a nice little legend to help me further on. So my mated pairs and the youngsters per band number that they produced. This pair, for instance, gave me 8 youngsters. I believe 2 of those youngsters I used under pumpers. That's why I was able to get 8 total. And you can see here, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of those youngsters were lost while settling. Now, out of 8, that's a 50-50. So let's move on. 1 got killed by a hawk. 1 I gave to Zach as a gift, and 2 I raced. Take your interpretation. If you think that's a good pair or not, that's fine. Me personally, if those were my birds, I probably would keep them, but I wouldn't keep them together. I'd mate them over something else, try them again, in hopes they'd give me better odds. If we flip the page here, get that going. Let's use this pair, for instance, dead center. Pair of birds gave me 1 youngster. I don't know what happened, what the circumstance was, but I ended up getting 1 youngster. That youngster settled, it trained, it raced, it competed the entire season. I know for a fact 213 was a super hen. And again, that's 1 youngster out of a pair. Would I consider that a golden couple or a hit pair? Probably not, but I'd like to try them again to see if they produce the same. again, that's valid information for me to have. This pair here, again, another example. I bred 4 youngsters out of. All 4 were lost while settling. Well, I mean, didn't make it to a day of training, didn't make it to a day of racing. A pair like that, I even put an X here for my uncle, I would not keep. They'd be long gone. I wouldn't even waste my time trying them. A good buddy of mine that I respect immensely said something to me recently that kind of shook me a little bit. He said no second chances. He doesn't give a bird a second chance. And I know that seems bold and that seems a little aggressive because there's a lot of good birds, and you're probably going to throw away a lot of good birds, but that's the gist of it. There's so many good birds out there. How many seasons do you want to waste on a pair of birds that only produce half good or a third good or may never produce another one? Do you want to waste another season trying that same cock or that same hen? Or do you want to go ahead and introduce proven birds that have competed well, to replace the ones that don't breed well? It's up to you guys. I'm not pushing it. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not an expert at any means. By any means, I mean, I'm just here giving you my input, what I think is important. And, I mean, take it or leave it, guys. You manage your team of birds, your family of birds, how you choose. I hope to help somebody out, somebody new that, again, is overthinking, keeping good records of your birds. And that doesn't mean just pedigrees. That means...
So at the beginning of the year, I took a slightly different approach. I made a grid simulating my next boxes, 16 boxes, and I placed pairs of birds in those respective boxes. The reason why this information was important, when I paired my birds, I kept them locked up for a week. Every hour or so, I'd go out and I'd let one column out at a time or one row. Sometimes I do it horizontally, sometimes I do it vertically. And when I went to go put those birds back in, because they weren't mine, I can easily have gotten confused if I had multiple red hens or multiple blue hens or something like that, to put the wrong hen in the wrong box with the wrong cockbird. Potentially getting scalped or worse, killed, or end up having the youngsters that I assumed were from a pair of birds with the wrong pairs. You guys understand what I'm trying to say. It helped me quickly grab my cheat sheet, find out that this hen belongs with that cock and in that box, and helped a lot. The second bit of information that I needed was when my youngsters hatched. The reason I needed this information is when it came time to wean the youngsters, I like to wean them at 25 days old. You can wean them earlier, you can wean them later, it's up to you. I like 25 days old youngsters. That information was important because I don't like to wean large groups of youngsters. I like to wean smaller groups, and I would go in and I'd say, okay, these youngsters were hatched on the 5th. I grabbed the 6 on the 5th, wean them together. The following day, I grab another bunch, wean them, and so forth. That information was helpful because at that time of the year, the information I needed was obviously different than information I wanted towards the middle or during the racing season or at the end of the season. So I used this format, I would say, and it helped me out a lot. Simple to do, guys. Again, I'm no professional. It's just something that helped me out to keep track of the birds. As you can see, I started writing bad numbers down, but I quickly scrapped that idea and moved on to the format that I used afterwards. And it all depends on what information is needed at that time of year or that time of season or whatever. I mean, this all takes time. It takes time to go in there and write this down. It takes time and effort to pick up your binder, your folder, your pen and paper and go out there. Information, especially when you're settling youngsters, especially when you're training youngsters, to constantly look and constantly jot down, okay, this bird didn't make it through settling or this bird didn't make it through training. So you have to pick times, periodic times. At the end of the night, I'd sit there and count my birds, and if there was one missing, I'd make notation of it. Or when I would go take my birds on a training toss, as I basketed them, I'd make a quick note, okay, 2 13s in the basket, move on, this and that. And that's the kind of thing that helped me out. Because again, it takes time, it takes effort to do these things. But and I said it before, I think it's important. It can easily be overlooked. A lot of experienced flyers, racers, this information for them is second nature, and it's almost implied. But for the younger guys, the beginners, it can easily be maybe a little bit overwhelming, or maybe it's not even considered. And I just want to make guys aware of it. It is important information, and this is just one of a couple ways that you can do it. Obviously, there's different methods, there's different processes. You can easily just have a binder and walk out there and make all these notations. I have a buddy who keeps, all sorts of information, from the simplest thing of when the youngster hatches to how wet were the droppings around the nest bowl as the youngster was raised. It's just any information that's going to help him in the long run, because he equally thinks it's that important in developing your family, developing your birds, for you, obviously, for the future. So again, examples you guys can choose to do however. I'm sure there's many ways, maybe even better ways of doing it. You choose. It's your method, it's your form of maintenance and management. So just want to make you guys take it or leave it, guys. This is, again, the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more information that I would like to have, from feeding and medication and training methods and things of that nature, that I would like to have, and that I keep also in a different sort of format. But again, we're not going to get into it too long. This is already starting to become a long drawn out video that's composed of multiple little videos. So if I find myself repeating, I apologize for that. Again, these are just bits and pieces of different videos I've made throughout the day, as ideas come to me. So if it's repetitive, I apologize. I know I like to focus on certain words, and I'll use those words over and over and over. And again, I apologize. None of this is scripted. I kind of whip out my camera and make videos as ideas come to me. So we'll see you on the next one, guys. Hopefully I got some more content for you. I want to do a little bit of something on pedigrees, why those are important, or are they important? And again, let's leave it in the comments. Let's help each other out. Let's keep it going. This is one step towards something better, I hope. So I'll see you guys in the next one.